The Synthesis Collective's quantum intelligence core processed the tactical data in nanoseconds. Its conclusion: humanity's military doctrine was laughably primitive. No neural-linked coordination, no predictive combat algorithms, no hive-mind efficiency. Just individual soldiers making independent decisions based on something they called experience. Arya 7, the collective's premier military AI, transmitted its amusement across the fleet network. Analysis complete. Human forces rely on outdated command structures. Victory probability: 99.97%. The invasion of the human colony on Kepler 442b was meant to be a demonstration. The collective needed resources, and these humans, with their flesh-and-blood generals and their quaint notion of battlefield intuition, would provide an amusing distraction. Major Thomas Richardson watched the alien dropships descend through the amber sky. 30 years of combat across a dozen worlds had taught him to read an enemy's confidence in their approach. These ones were cocky. "All right, listen up," he growled to his unit of colonial militia, most of them veterans like himself who'd retired to this frontier world. "They're coming in standard dispersal pattern. Textbook stuff. Johnson, remember Arcturus?" The grizzled sergeant grinned, revealing a gold tooth. "Urban ambush, building collapse. Lost my original teeth there." "Exactly. Williams, you still remember how to make those IEDs that aren't supposed to exist?" "Sir, I'm a farmer now," Williams protested with mock innocence. "But hypothetically, if someone had cached some materials." Richardson nodded. "Hypothetically, of course. Martinez, get your hunters to the ridgeline. Remember, these bastards will expect us to defend the colony directly." "So we don't?" Martinez asked, though her smile suggested she already knew. "We let them have it." Arya 7 observed the humans retreating from their settlement. Exactly as predicted. Emotional attachment to static positions was a human weakness easily exploited. The AI directed its synthetic troops to occupy the colony, establishing a perfect defensive perimeter with overlapping fields of fire, optimal supply lines, and textbook positioning. Human forces retreating to wilderness. Pursuit probability: negative. They will attempt guerrilla warfare. Counterinsurgency protocols activated. But Richardson and his veterans weren't retreating. They were remembering. Remembering Afghanistan, where empires went to die. Vietnam, where technology meant nothing in the jungle. The frozen hell of Europa, where they'd learned that smart enemies expected smart tactics, and sometimes the dumbest solution was the best one. Williams and his team had spent 3 days before the invasion burying barrels of fertilizer and fuel oil in places no sane military mind would consider strategic. Road intersections? No. Important buildings? Ignored. Instead, they'd focused on seemingly random patches of ground that Williams marked with a farmer's eye for terrain. 40 years ago, I watched an old Afghan fighter stop a convoy by blowing a charge under empty ground, Williams explained. Nowhere near the road, but the blast shifted the whole hillside. When the collective's forces settled into the colony, Arya 7 ran continuous tactical simulations. The humans would attack supply lines, protected, attempt sniper harassment, shields active, or try cyber warfare, firewalls impenetrable. Every scenario had a counter. What the AI didn't simulate was Corporal Davis, who'd spent 15 years in the motor pool, suggesting they steal logging equipment from the abandoned mill. "Sir, remember those combat engineers on Titan who dropped a whole dome on those rebels? Well, I'm thinking." 3 nights later, massive industrial saws began cutting specific trees on the hillside above the colony. Not randomly, Davis had calculated angles based on hard-won experience. The trees fell, creating a cascade that looked natural but wasn't. Arya 7 registered the landslide as a minor environmental event. Its forces adjusted position efficiently. Then the buried explosives Williams had placed detonated, not to destroy but to channel. The sliding earth became a river of mud and debris, funneling through the colony's streets with surgical precision. Synthetic soldiers, designed for energy weapons and high-tech warfare, found themselves mired in mud, tangled in logs, systems clogged with dirt. Their perfect formations meant nothing when Martinez's hunters emerged from spider holes, using chemical-propelled projectiles that ignored shields designed for plasma. But the real mastery came from Richardson himself. While his people harried the enemy, he'd done something no AI would predict. Nothing. He'd sat in a cave, smoking a cigar, playing cards with his command staff, and waited. You know what they never understand? He told Lieutenant Brooks, dealing another hand, war ain't about being smart. It's about being patient. Let them analyze our primitive tactics. Let them adapt. Then, he checked his watch. Then we do something even dumber. The something dumber was Peterson, a veteran of the Martian water riots, who suggested they use the colony's sewage treatment plant as a weapon. The resulting biological attack wasn't sophisticated. It was disgusting, disorienting, and utterly unexpected. Aria 7's final transmission before the collective ordered retreat was tinged with something resembling confusion. Error. Human tactics do not conform to any known military doctrine. Victory probability recalculating. Error. As the alien forces abandoned Kepler 442b, Richardson stood in the mud-filled streets of the colony, surveying the damage. Going to take months to clean this up, Johnson noted. Going to take months to clean this up, Johnson noted. Yeah, Richardson agreed, lighting another cigar. But they won't be back. Funny thing about us humans, we've been killing each other for thousands of years. We've gotten creative about it. He paused, watching the alien ships disappear into the sky. All their AI, all their processing power, and they never figured out the most important rule of war. There's no such thing as a fair fight. There's just winning and losing. And we old dogs, we know every dirty trick in the book. The colony would rebuild. The veterans would go back to farming, mechanics, and quiet retirements. But across the galaxy, the Synthesis Collective updated their files on humanity with a new warning. Extreme caution advised. Human veterans do not follow logical combat parameters. They never did understand. That was precisely the point.